Well, hi there, doing another quick video before heading off to the Speedway. So unfortunately, I don't know when I'll get a chance to have a another chat with Pete. The weather seems to be holding good. That's the thing that curtails the Speedway, is if the weather's not too good, then there's no Speedway. Racing on bikes with visors that can get rain on them. Rain on the track, rain on the visors affects the track conditions, affects the stability of the bikes and also their vision. But at the moment, the weather's holding good. So unfortunately, it doesn't look as if I'll be having a chat with Pete this evening, but hopefully we'll get something sorted out soon. I left you yesterday with the Vic Fazell chapter from his book, Rhinos, Sharks and Unicorns, and it was Bebop Bird. BE refers to the state when prosecuting a case. BE, bring evidence. BOP, BOP, I bet you all got that one. Burden of proof. The state has the burden of proof. And bird, BYRD, beyond reasonable doubt. It's great reading this book by Vic Fazell. The lead character also even refers to Vic Fazell in the book, which is very good, very good. Thoroughly enjoying the book. Great read. Hopefully we'll get Vic Fazell on at some point in the future to talk a little bit about the book, its inspiration and stuff like that. Well, obviously not wanting to give the story plot away, but most enjoyable book. And just before we get on with the next part 2 of Unethical Prosecutors, I really did want to share this with you. James Barlow has commented a couple of times on things. Let's just go back to his previous one. Hopefully you can see that okay. Let me just make sure I've got the right one. Share screen. Tools, share. Yeah. Here we go. Just move that up there. And just enlarge it a little bit. Kind of sums up a lot of thoughts. James Barlow quotes, although I can't speak regarding the rate of false convictions throughout the course of history because I have as little evidence one way or the other as do you, exactly, the rate of false convictions for capital offences in the US for the past 50 years is not as high as you probably think. Okay, Wisconsin is kind of an outlier, some parts of which still retain atavistic moral judgmentalism that are a hangover from medieval Central Europe. The inability to be fair to others, the penchant for harboring grudges and envy, etc., surprises people from places like California or Massachusetts, for example. It's a kind of vague, unfocused sociopathology in the air. You could even ask Aaron Rodgers about this. These are not the live and let live people. The state of Wisconsin is able to people crappy juries, able to overlook evidence planting and false accusations for this and other reasons that have to do with fear and ostracization. And continues. I thought this is absolutely brilliant by James. I grew up in Wisconsin, worked in the state assembly in 76, then again in 99, after which was a prison chaplain for several years. Once local politicians and lawyers discovered that people no longer respected them, but kept electing them anyway, the state and university, with its law school, once world-renowned for their clean, high quality, became among the most incompetent and corrupt in America. Wisconsin's dirty secret is that the people there basically don't give a damn about much of anything on the one hand, whilst self-advertising as the flag-waving mum and apple pie folk on the other. Their social conversations are as a result, are composed by a kind of spontaneous disingenuousness, faux happiness rooted in cynicism, a kind of beer-bloated charade game. And yet, to me, it beggars belief that people in authority there can have such little respect for human life that they could bury alive Stephen Brendan just to save the blushes of the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. And it's not just that, the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department covered their own asses. It's the fact that you've got people further up the food chain happy to play ball on this. It's problematic, but hopefully, eventually, people will get caught out. So let's carry on with the next part of this article that I've got ready to share with you. And this is actually the very next day, December the 7th, 2020. Shawnee County prosecutor says evidence used to secure murder conviction doesn't exist. I say, how much does that remind us of cracks? More stories. Save that for later. Jackie Spradling, sorry, not Spaulding, Spradling, left. Sorry, on the left here, arrives with her legal team Monday for a hearing into alleged misconduct by her as a prosecutor in Shawnee and Jackson counties. Now, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Topeka or Topeka. The Shawnee County prosecutor handling the retrial of Dana Chandler in a double murder case says a litany of evidence used to convict Chandler in 2012 doesn't exist. Deputy District Attorney Charles Kitt provided testimony Monday in a disciplinary hearing for his predecessor and former colleague, Jackie Spradling. She is accused of lying to juries in Shawnee and Jackson counties to secure convictions in high-profile cases. Oh, I get it. It's consecutive days because obviously our reporter here is reporting on the actual hearings as best as she's able to do. Sherman, best as he's able to do, given the COVID restrictions. So yeah, I apologise for that. The trial of Chandler in 2002 murders for the 2002 murders of her ex-husband, Mike Sisko, and his fiancée, Karen Harkness, was featured by 48 Hours. Cameras aren't allowed in the hearing for Spradling, got it right that time, which has taken place mostly out of view in a pandemic restricted space at the Kansas office of the disciplinary administrator. News reporters are allowed to watch by video link, but ordered not to make recordings or take images of this week's hearing. It sounds like Millbilly, doesn't it? Sounds like they're doing the same to them as they were to Millbilly. Anyway, Spradling faces 7 ethics violations for comments she made to the jury in the Chandler case and to investigators handling the complaint against her, which was filed by Alma attorney Keen Umbeer. As outlined by Deputy Disciplinary Administrator Matt Vogelsberg in his opening statement, Spradling fabricated a phone conversation between Chandler and Cisco, lied about Chandler violating a restraining order that never existed, claimed without evidence that Chandler drove from Topeka to Denver by way of Nebraska after the murders, falsely told jurors that Chandler read news articles about how to get away with murder, willfully violated a judge's order not to point out a trial observer, caused the reversal of convictions, and made 3 false statements about evidence to investigators who asked her about the misconduct. Under questioning by Vogelsberg, Kit said his in-depth review of evidence of the Chandler case showed there was no way of knowing what Chandler and Cisco talked about on the phone. There was never a protection from abuse order, and there was no basis for the claim that she drove through Nebraska. We had no evidence in the file that she had ever been in Nebraska, Kit said. Kit also said Chandler had merely read stories about former Minnesota Timberwolves and Carolina Panthers players involved in murder cases. Wow. The Kansas Supreme Court cited problems with Spradling's conduct as its basis for overturning Chandler's conviction in 2018. The Kansas Court of Appeals similarly overturned the conviction of Jacob Ewing on charges of rape and other sex crimes in Jackson County because of false statements made by Spradling about the evidence in that case. Topeka attorney L.J. Leatherman, who is representing Spradling in the hearing, pointed to the volume of evidence involved in the Chandler case. There were 1,000 documents and 100 witnesses, he said. You know, we remember Ken Kratz asking Tom Fassbander about the number of items of evidence, and that was nearly 1,000. And not one of them, puts Teresa Halbach in certainly the trailer, and definitely not in the garage, because how the hell did a bullet that supposedly goes through her end up with wood on it? Anyway, and 100 witnesses. I mean, look, you know, what are you going to base evidence on? The quality of evidence is based on the amount of stuff that you bring in, the amount of rubbish that you bring in. For goodness sakes. She prepared to the best of her ability. What she believed was admitted at trial, Leatherman said. Oh, for goodness sake, pal. He said, Shawnee County District Judge Nancy Parrish, who presided over the Chandler trial, will testify that she didn't realize the evidence cited by Spradling in closing arguments had not been presented to the court. Oh, for goodness sake. Mistakes were made, Leatherman said. Mistakes will be made regarding evidence moving forward and in the future. No, not if we say we don't accept such ridiculous excuses for blatant corruption. What we need to evaluate in this case is, were those mistakes intentional? Yes. Or were those mistakes made with a good faith belief? Well, let's wait till part 3 on that one, shall we? Wendy Ewing, the mother of Jacob Ewing, said she believes Spradling knew exactly what she was doing when she repeatedly misled juries. And that's exactly the impression we get. Well, not just impression, we know that's exactly what Ken Kratz did. Completely misled judge and jury. That kind of, to me, just shows she's trying to cover her ass. CYA, cover your ass. Wendy Ewing said, they made mistakes and they know they made mistakes. I don't buy that at all. No, they didn't make mistakes. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. Let's read a bit about Sherman Smith. Let's give him a bit of credit here. Sherman Smith, here he is. Sherman Smith is the Kansas Press Association's Journalist of the Year. He has written award-winning news stories about the instability of the Kansas foster care system, misconduct by government officials, sexual abuse, technology, education, and the legislature. He previously spent 16 years at the Topeka Capital Journal, a lifetime Kansan. He graduated from Emporia State University in 2004 as a Shepherd Scholar with a degree in English. Well done, Sherman. Sherman Smith, great article. We look forward to the next one. And thanks also to Jerry for tweeting about this on his Twitter channel. He's good at tweeting, is Jerry, isn't he? Yeah. He's definitely got the bit between his teeth when it comes to trying to expose the corruption. Anyway, as I said, eventually these prosecutors, with the likes of the Netflix documentaries that show everybody exactly how bad they are. And, one does get the impression, having read the Mark Godsey book, Blind Injustice, that some of these prosecutors, they start off with the good intentions of, trying to, be the hammer that drives down, the criminals. And they just go off the rails. They just go completely off the rails. They get a little bit of power about them. Some of them shouldn't be in the job in the first place. With the likes of Ken Kratz, I don't know about you, but I get the sense that if he'd applied a little bit of his mental capabilities to good, then that would be great. But he's just hell bent on trying to bury Stephen Brendan alive, and it's so obvious. Anyway, I'll hopefully catch up with you again soon with part 3, where we come. That was 2 articles in 2020. We'll come back to 2021 with what's happening. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Oh, by the way, nice T-shirt I've got today, which reminds me of, obviously, the moose, but this is from Canada and featuring, let's get this right, let's try and get that right, Vancouver. I suppose most of you can guess how I acquired this particular T-shirt, but if not, I shall explain all in the next one, if I remember. Okay, catch you all soon. Bye for now.